Hello, everyone. Forgive the creaking of my chair. Welcome to episode 28 of Lesbian Talk, otherwise known as the podcast that used to be weekly, but now is slightly less than weekly because we were buzz busy, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of things, so sorry about that. Although with
Yeah.
the creaking of the chair, you could just imagine that you're like old lesbian grandma on the porch with a rocking chair. Well, back in my day, you see, gays weren't allowed to marry.
And I was like, and we totally actually don't really have porches like that over in my part of the
Oh,
world.
that's true, because it's too cold. You'd never want to sit out on it with a glass of iced tea and watch the fireflies at night.
Yeah, it's like there was a new episode of the Slow Mo Guys came out recently where they were shooting guns underwater and they was in a swimming pool. And I was like, where the fuck in England near them do they have a swimming pool? And then they mentioned at the end that they were in Alabama. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
doesn't one of the guys live in America, and sometimes they'll film here and sometimes they'll film there?
Yeah, the blonde one lives in Austin.
Mm. Yeah, you guys don't like do a lot of the things that it's so weird because like I'll be like, oh, this time honored thing that everyone knows about. You're like, yeah, we don't do that here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I'm not being judgmental about it.
No, it's just funny. Like I'm trying to. There was something a few days ago that you were like, we totally don't do that at all. And I was like, but what?
Well, a couple of days ago, I was in a shop in Belfast. No, this was before I went to Belfast. But I saw really big, expensive barbecues for sale. Now, I knew barbecues were for sale over here because I've seen a couple of people with them. But generally, they're going to be the cheapy crap ones that you can use once or twice and then get rid of because we don't have that much sun. But obviously, someone is buying expensive barbecues.
Well, you don't really need sun to barbecue. Like my parents, they have a really nice gas barbecue outside, and just so long as you can turn it on and you're not getting whipped by rain and thunder and stuff like that, you can use it in any weather. You just have to use it outside. So if it's cold, you can still grill outside. You just have to run back in real
Yeah,
quick because
but
you're cold.
over here, I mean, when it's cold, it's either rainy or sometimes it's windy or it's snowy or it's all of the above.
Yeah, I can't really see that. Maybe I guess if you had a restaurant and you had like you had a vent back there specifically for grilling stuff. I can
There was
understand that.
there was a Thai restaurant in England who were the center of like this terrorist panic
Hmm.
because there was like these guys had made this traditional Thai curry that's not very common over here, and they cooked it all the chilies outside as they do traditionally,
Hmm.
but the local people mistook it for gas attack.
Did the restaurant give them free curry?
No, the police came.
Oh. Did the restaurant get in trouble? Now I'm upset. Will there be more?
They apparently they have to cook it indoors. Remember we saw an episode of Bizarre Foods where the guy had to make fowl and he had to wear a gas mask while doing it? It was probably a situation like that.
Oh yeah, that's true. If you're aerosolizing chilies, you kind of don't want everyone breathing that in.
So they were doing that.
Okay, I guess that would be a violation of the Clean Air Act. So yeah.
It's still quite funny to thought it was a terrorist attack.
Terrorist curry. Although sometimes some of the curries that you described to me that I'll be able to get in the UK kind of come under the heading of terrorist curry, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't think terrorist, just spicier than what you're used to.
Yeah, it's true. But we've bantered enough because do you remember what the word was from last time?
It was some sort of a Buddhist thing.
The word was bonze, Bonze, and it means a Chinese
B-O
um,
what?
or
B?
Buddhist priest.
B-O what?
Bonze.
B-O-N what-y?
No, I'm not going to say it.
Aw.
I'm not going to do it
Oh,
because our Canadian isn't here, so we can't.
fair enough.
She just says the word Z wrong, and it just likes. Whenever we go to a zoo, which we will talk about a bit later, we always have a kerfuffle about the proper pronunciation of the animal with stripes.
Muskrat?
Muskrats don't have stripes.
Chose a random animal.
Okay. So anyway, a Buddhist priest. I know that you have a deep dislike for everything in the world, including Buddhism, which I think, if practiced personally, for enlightenment, can be non-harmful. But
Well, you can say that about any religion. What I'm saying is that Buddhism has a exclusively hippie-ish and nice reputation in the West when it is much more diverse than that.
yeah, but if you actually sit down and read the tenets of it.
You got different schools who have different books and stuff. It's a
That's
very,
true. I
very
guess if you have to choose one.
yeah. It's just the hippie-ish one has taken root over here, while the frankly nastier ones haven't. Like, there's Buddhism has been supportive of dictatorships who murdered people. Buddhism has been supportive of shit like that. It's um the Buddhism. There were types of Buddhism which were quite sympathetic to fascism. It's not a lily white religion.
Yeah, but you always want to look at things in the whole. I always look at, the personal way, like the single practitioner who's going about their little, mindful, noble, eightfold way kind of life. Like, hey, I didn't emoliate anyone. Stop it.
Yeah, but you could say that about anything. I'm going to totally Godwin this, but theoretically, you could have someone who just peacefully to themselves sort of found benefit in the philosophy from Mein Kampf, and then didn't kill anyone, wasn't nasty to anyone, and it's the same thing. You,
Yeah, but you can't. No, but you're taking it to a hyperbole though, and I don't think it needs to go there.
oh, it doesn't need to, but I'm just saying that it's.
Don't just
It,
you should. But here's the thing: that you shouldn't discount a philosophy in its entirety. Based on a generalization, because
oh,
there's always going to be an exception.
I'm not. I'm just very unimpressed with almost every philosophy. As far as I'm concerned, I have not come across a philosophy that's not
Honey,
twatish in the extreme.
quite honestly, there's nothing that impresses you.
Well, possible. But as far as I can tell, if someone has a good philosophical idea, regardless of where it comes from and who it comes from, then you should absorb that. Entire people deciding to follow up, do entire philosophies, I do not get.
Well, true Buddhism, like, Vedic Buddhism, was all about the obliteration of the self, because he was, technically, if you believe the story of the first Buddha, of Gautama the Buddha, that he was an ascetic. He, went out and
Wait,
spent years.
you mean the one who started the religion?
Yes.
Because now, I could be remembering this wrong, but I'm fairly sure at one point I was in the British Museum and they had a section on Buddhism and I was looking through it and seem to recall reading something on one of the wall things where they indicated that the famous Buddha is actually the third Buddha, and there's
Yeah,
um,
there's a lot of like nitty picking that I never really understood about that, he was not the first person to attain enlightenment,
but he's
but
the
he was the
famous one,
first person to attain enlightenment in this specific way.
possibly,
And
yeah.
I'm sure that any fans of ours that know more than us or who are actually Buddhists will write in.
Well, the only reason I was bringing that up is because I've seen to, if my memory serves, this is quite funny. The British Museum indicated that the famous Buddha was actually the first Buddha, but then they sort of did a retcon and invented these previous two other ones just to do for some reason. And
No,
there's evidence.
there were enlightened people before him, because he goes off to be the traditional story was that he was a young prince, and uh, he went out into the town one day, and he really usually wasn't outside of the palace ever. And he saw three things. He saw a poor man, he saw a sick man who was dying, and he saw a traveling holy man. And he never really confronted suffering before, and he had this profound, you know, thing like, oh my gosh, there's suffering and things, and it doesn't make sense, and blah. So he ran off to become a holy man, and he spent all these years, like, he studied with other people that said, oh, you have to obliterate the soul and you're the self, and only then will you attain enlightenment. You have to know your place in the universe, and it all tied into a lot of previous Brahmin theology of
Oh,
like self, the Atman versus the Brahman, and the self versus the universe and stuff like that.
yeah, I know. I know the basic history
But
of
watch you
Buddhism.
let me go on for 20 minutes.
Well, other people in the audience might not
I
have.
know that.
Well,
But
my point is this is just if my memory is correct. I could have misinterpreted. I could be remembering wrong. But they said that there is evidence to suggest that Buddhism as a religion, after its earliest days, went back and rewrote its own history in order to and change details like making him not the first for some reason, like a retcon in a TV show. And I don't know
well,
if
no,
it's
the way
true.
that that is possible though, without saying, oh, they totally retconned it, is check it out. So as you are reincarnated, karmically you try to do better and better each time. So it's possible that someone who started out as just like a regular person or a scoundrel or whatever, they reincarnated through, like, all of the lives and learned all of the things, and you can attain Bada Vista status kind of like a saint almost. So you could technically ascend to Buddhahood centuries after your own death.
So that's possibly it. I really kind of want to go back to the British Museum. I believe it was like on the fourth floor where you could have the section on Asian stuff, and I really want to see if I can find this thing that I might have misremembered or
Well, when
misinterpreted.
we make it to London, we can. I would certainly love to go see. But yeah, and then it differs because I know that Chinese Buddhism differs from Indian Buddhism. Although I do like the Hotoi Buddha, which is the happy, fat, smiling Buddha, who apparently he got fat from eating everybody else's sins, and he lets them go off happy, and that's why he's happy.
Oh,
I know, right? Wouldn't you like to be happy if you were fat?
but the well, the West has the image of the jolly fat man as well.
Yeah, I know, but I like Buddha best because I have a statue and I can come by and rub its head.
Like my favorite Buddha is the Thai Buddha because he's got the ridiculous haircut.
I'm fabulous.
It's really
Buddha
tall.
said.
Plus, the Thai Buddha, I think it's a Thai Buddha, is also sort of vaguely asexual. It's got like a very small, like eh, almost like pubescent girl tits. It's actually quite similar to what you had in the very early versions of Christianity in the non-Catholic versions, where Jesus was portrayed as beardless and very very femme, and it's similar to that. It's like the sort of feminine divine, which is put through a male character. It's it's interesting.
See, I saw a show. I forget. Occasionally, I will watch random documentaries on YouTube because, or not YouTube on Netflix. Oh, you know what? It was Michael Palin's The Himalayas,
Hmm.
and he's not as interesting as Terry Jones. I mean, he's cool, but But
Don't
so
insult my Michael. Don't insult my uncle.
he's cool, honey. I love all members of Monty Python equally, but he does actual for real travel shows about places.
Hmm.
But Terry Jones does all the stuff about the medieval times, and I really like that too. So, but anyway, so he went to the town in the Himalayas where the Dalai Lama and his people live, and showed how then he got to have an audience with the Dalai
Or
Lama and stuff. And
wait. Confusion. Dalai Lama doesn't live in the Himalayas anymore. He hasn't since like the 50s.
well, he lives in some town somewhere.
I think he lives on the Indian side of the border.
Well, wherever yeah, but he went through a lot of places, honey. He was in Pakistan for a while. He was in India. He was all over he like crossed borders.
Yeah, but
This,
he's not in Tibet anymore though.
well, no, this wasn't in Tibet. This was in either India or Pakistan. I forget which.
Ah,
But
okay.
anyway, it was probably done a few years ago. But so, and he's like, well, I'm so glad that I get to meet you, and the Dalai Lama's, yes, I have seen you before. They let me watch BBC. And then I remember how much you hate the Dalai Lama, and I was like, oh, Hagen will be angry at me for watching this show.
You can like watch stuff with the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is basically a he while going on about pacifism, he was working with the CIA to fund a terrorist group to try and take back Tibet. The guy's a hypocrite. The guy the lamas had an army of slaves. He was a theocratic dictator of Tibet. The Chinese were not good in attacking Tibet and taking over, though in some ways they improved the place over how it was before the Dalai Lama was in charge. He basically wants his personal kingdom back. That was my dad saying that he's looking forward to having you over.
Oh, thank you.
That was a bit annoying. He sort of came in right when I was insulting the Dalai Lama. But also, on my screen I had like this top of someone being tortured because I'd been watching a movie by the guy who
See,
did
this is
Maniac.
what happens.
I've been watching it's like a movie by the guy who did Schizophrenia.
Oh, sorry, you're looking at pornography. I'll come back.
But yeah, I don't think he's the worst person in the world, the Dalai Lama, but he is far from the nicest. There was a really good
Well, I've never
example.
met him personally. I never am like, oh yeah, he's a great guy. We should go out and get a beer together. I mean,
There was a wonderful bit from one of John Safran's shows where
oh,
he had.
I need. You know what? There needs to be a lesbian talk drinking game when you pull out John Safran.
Well, this one,
Big
okay.
shot.
He he goes around. The stunt is basically giving quotes and asking people whether it was the Pope or the Dalai Lama who said this stuff.
Mm.
And without fail, obviously it's been edited and stuff. Without fail, the people assume that the nice quotes are from the Dalai Lama and the nasty ones are from the Pope. The nasty
Which
ones
pope
include.
though? Because there have been nice popes.
I believe this was very early in Ratzinger's reign.
Oh, I don't like it much.
And they were talking, and so they were all like, "Oh, the Pope's nasty dilemma is good," and then they're like, "No, that's actually the dilemma." And he was doing things like he was basically most of the nasty stuff were against premarital sex and homosexuality. He is a homophobe. He's
Yeah,
just
but
got
if you're
good
a monk,
PR.
you're not having no sex anyway, so it doesn't really
No,
matter.
no, a homophobe as in gay homosexuality is wrong and evil.
Oh, well, I don't know about that.
He's got good PR.
Well, the village that he went to, they teach the little kids like the kids were having a festival that day in school and they were singing like all these Indian songs and stuff like that. But then they specifically teach them all the Tibetan folk songs too, so the ways won't be forgotten.
That's quite. It's
Which I think is cute. I mean, like, all right, if you're a political refugee from Tibet, and you know you can never go home, you would want to make sure that your ways stayed alive. I mean, I know I would if I was from Tibet.
I think it's quite. It's quite apt that they're in Israel, in India, given that India was where Buddhism came from.
I'd
The
like to go to India at some point. I want to go to Goa because it's a nice place in the Mediterranean, and Andrew Zimmern from Bizarre Foods went there.
wait a sec. Goa is in the Mediterranean.
No, it's on the not the Mediterranean. It's on whatever coast that is. That's nice, and no Mediterranean people come there. That's why, because
Oh, it's Portuguese India.
yeah, where the Portuguese came from the Mediterranean. I knew it was involved at some point, and they brought fruits. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
there were fruits there before, but
I'd quite like to go to India as well. I'd like to go to the Delhi, the Baha'i Temple in Delhi,
we just can't
because
drink the water.
it's very, very spectacular. But
Well,
the
see, you don't know this, but there was a while when I tried to be Buddhist. This was years ago before I met you.
oh, fair enough.
Yeah, 'cause like this girl that I knew was all like, "You're just a bad person and things and stuff, and all you're always upset about everything in the world, and you're horrible." And I'm like, maybe I'll become a Buddhist. They're always really calm about everything. So I read a whole bunch of books by Thich Nhat Hanh, who actually is a really good writer. He's a monk who's in exile, and I think he lives somewhere in France. And he has workshops where I assume people come to the mountains and they carry water, and he talks to them in a gentle manner, and then they become enlightened. But his books are good at least. But then I was like, I didn't realize that I was Spectrum then. That was before I knew that. And I was like, there's something wrong with me because I just can't be Buddhist either. So oh well. Yeah, like the first time I got upset about something, she's like, I thought you were Buddhist now. I didn't care about anything. I was like, well, apparently that. You know what I've realized? I have a real big history of changing religions based on what other people think.
Well, I didn't tell you to change your religion.
Well, no, atheism doesn't count as having a religion. But no, but I mean like
Well, yeah, atheism's not a religion, but you can have a religion and be an atheist. A lot of Buddhists are.
that's true. That's a good point. I guess if you subscribe to like a philosophy, like if you like to think about Zen things,
Like Scientology, it's an atheist religion.
Scientology is pretend.
Well, I'd think it's a mixture of a few different things, but
If you're a
it's
Scientologist, write the show. We'll have you. I want to know.
it doesn't believe in a god. Raelianism's like that as well. There's several, not but some Buddhists believe in God, some don't. George Takei doesn't, I don't think.
He's cool.
But
wanna
shall
meet-
we go on and talk about toys?
We should. We should talk about toys, and not the dirty way. So put it back in your pants, everybody. Tisk.
En masse, just all of you. Put it.
The sound of 1 million zippers. Oh yeah, like we got 1 million listeners.
But see, I recently, because of Vsauce, I got introduced to James May's YouTube show, Head Squeeze.
He looks a
And
lot like Stephen Fry, you guys.
he does. And now I'd always discounted James May because I really, really, really disliked Top Gear. And I was like, oh,
But
someone's
you're
on Top
British. I
Gear.
thought it was like required that you have to like Top Gear.
No. And it's like, I don't like Top Gear, so I was like, just fuck it, do not like it. But I enjoyed Head Squeeze, so I decided to look up his other stuff he'd done, including Toy Stories, which, do you want to describe?
Well, the episode that I've seen, it's kind of like Mythbusters, but with toys.
Good
If that makes
description.
any kind of sense.
Good description. Basically, he takes like an old school toy of some sort and tries to supersize it in order to do something ridiculous. Like, I've only watched a couple of episodes and you've only watched the one. But in one of them, he creates he creates a bridge out of some material. Another one, he creates an entire garden at the Kensington Flower Show, which is a real thing. Out of
Kensington.
yeah, it's like the Royal
I know, but
Horticultural
Kensington
Society.
is like a really bad town in where I come from.
Kensington's very upper class in the UK.
That's kind of funny.
But he created like an entire garden out of plasticine. And in the episode that you watched, it was he created a house that he actually lived in for a day out of Lego.
Which you think wouldn't work. Like at first you think, yeah, that could. Then you're like, no, that couldn't. But it kind of worked a little teeny bit.
Although apparently when he was walking around with his bare feet, it hurt a bit.
Well, yeah, because that's the one indisputable truth of life. If you step on a Lego in bare feet, you're just there's no pain like that. Like like the pain, like oh my stomach cramps or regular cramps, or you're like oh my head's killing me with a migraine, or or like oh paper cut. There's no pain in the world as specific as stepping on a Lego in bare feet because it's like no, it's like okay people who you have to get shots maybe for the army or for going to another country or you have to get a procedure done or you have a horrible accident and they'll be like don't worry just have to set the bone, it'll be cool in a second, it'll hurt but we have to set the bone. But there's like because it's from the pain scale from 1 to 10 it shoots to 25 in a millisecond and it stays at 25 for another 5 milliseconds before dropping down to like 9, and by then you've already used up all your swear words.
But for everyone who doesn't know who James May is, you got the three ones from Top Gear. You've got the King idiot Jeremy Clarkson. You've got the secondary idiot and professional David Tennant lookalike Richard Hammond.
That's his job?
No, but it should be.
Okay.
It's another reason I dislike him. And you've got James May, who basically seems to be. Imagine Stephen Fry if he was convinced it was the 70s. He was heterosexual. He looked like he was in a prog rock band and was probably heavily Spectrum.
Yeah, the hair kind of bothers me. I'm like, would you just cut your hair?
Yeah, he's like a prog rock Stephen Fry.
I have a thing. Like, I think long hair on guys can look really cool, but at a certain length, it just looks weird.
He likes his hair that long.
I don't. So if we ever meet, I'll be like, stop that.
The plasticine garden is actually on display still in England.
Oh, that's cool. We could probably go see it, I reckon.
Yeah, it's currently in Wolverhampton.
Wolverhampton! That's a great place. Where are you going? To Wolverhampton! What are you going to do there? See some wolves, probably.
Unlikely.
Unlikely, but it might happen.
It's a medium-sized town, industrial, and their football club are called Wolverhampton Wanderers.
I've heard of them on Monty Python.
Yep, but I've been there before. But it's
everything I know about your land comes from sketch comedy.
But it's the display. The garden is on display in that town, and I would be interested in seeing it. The Lego house, unfortunately, was destroyed.
Well, yeah. See, this is I watch MythBusters. I watch shows like this, and I feel kind of bad that I'm not smarter, like engineer smart, like because I want to do shit like that, you know. I think that would make a great YouTube show. Fucking around with shit with your hosts, the Dog and the Omega. We're just gonna fuck around with shit, and science is gonna be involved, and I just don't even know what's gonna happen.
Have you seen Head Squeeze?
No.
Okay, you should. They did a crossover with Vsauce.
Oh, cool.
And basically, it's his version of Vsauce. Imagine him just, being asked science questions and sort of answering it.
And sort of answering.
Well, yeah, it's Vsauce-ish.
Okay.
So, not all the questions are very interesting, but...
Oh, guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, look up Vsauce 1, Vsauce 2, and Vsauce 3 on YouTube. They are really awesome, so subscribe to them because they're cool.
Yeah, it's one of YouTube's gems in the science crown. In YouTube.
Like, that's why there's a possibility, I don't know, we'll have known by the time this goes up, but there's a possibility that PME might be heading to VidCon. And I really hope so because I really hope, if I get to go, I really hope we can get some interviews with some of the science people because a lot of the things I didn't like to learn about in school, I will happily sit and watch like a 20-minute YouTube video about, like physics. I don't understand physics. The only thing I remember from physics is there's such things as polymers and an inclined plane. That's all I remember about physics because it was a jumble of math and rocket fuel symbols. But I'll sit down and watch like Minute Physics or like V-Heart. Like I hated math. Math was incomprehensible, and I had a calculator that I could play Mario Brothers on. So
There is a couple of math ones you might want to look up as well then. But yeah, the Vsauce are really good. The guy
check them out, guys.
the main guy from Vsauce, he's actually based in London right now.
Oh, you should go find him and say hi.
Well, I don't know how easy it is to find him, but I suppose if we felt inclined, we could try to ask him for an
It
interview.
would be like a quest, like you would have to quest to find him. Like you'd have to be like Carmen Sandiego. You'd have to answer a whole bunch of questions, and then you would finally find him, and like at a cafe, and he'd be like, you solved everything, and you are worthy to interview me. Because that's what he would do.
But Toy Stories was fun. There was 6 episodes originally, and there's 2 specials. I've found the first 6, and I've watched 2 of them. I'm going to watch the other 4 probably the next day or 2, and I'm going to send the others to Omega so she can watch them as well.
BB. That's my noise for today, apparently.
That's your happy noise.
BB.
So
Well,
you
guys can't smell it from here, obviously, because it's the internet, and also it's in the past. But I made sourdough bread today, so the whole house smells very nice, like bread.
It smells of sour.
It smells of bread. Shut up, you. It's awesome.
The dough is sour.
Sourdough bread is awesome, just because you only have like limpet bread.
Northern Ireland has 3 types of basic bread, which is more than most of the UK. Most of the UK has 1.
White bread?
Well, it's got just basic bread, which can be either be white or wholemeal or whatever. Well, Northern Ireland's got the regular bread, plus it's got potato bread and soda bread.
I made whole wheat soda bread at St. Patrick's Day last year. Didn't turn out real good.
I was really disappointed whenever the first time I mentioned soda bread to you, and you'd actually come across it before. I really wanted you to laugh and be all like, "Yeah, I want to get Coke and turn it into bread."
Yeah, because we have that over here. Because, honey, my area, a lot of Irish immigrants settled, so you can get soda bread at the store.
I know, it's just like, aw, I wanted you to make that joke.
Oh, if it makes you feel better, when we were in Edinburgh, I'll make that joke. Also, this is 80% hopefully happening that in September for a few days we're going to be in Edinburgh, mispronouncing things, and, well, I won't be anyway, and eating haggis and all sorts of things.
Well, that'll be the subject of a full episode of Lesbian Talk, I'm sure.
And also, hopefully getting together for lunch or dinner or something with Susie, the Blockbuster chick, who lives outside of town.
Yeah. If you bring your laptop and everything, we could actually possibly record an episode in Edinburgh.
We could, it's true, in the hotel. Well, yeah, we could in the hotel room.
Yeah.
We don't require any kind of internet for that, so.
Yeah, just bring your converter, and tell your parents to bring their plug converter as well.
Well, I have 2. I have the one that I bought a while back, like a few years ago, and then I have the one that you got me. So I have 2, but I'll probably get a third so they can have one. And because didn't you tell me don't run a laptop off a converter?
Honestly, I don't know. I thought converters converted the power.
Well, actually, you know what? I think it'll probably be fine because the laptop cord, that black box is a surge protector.
That's okay.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah, but
don't worry, audience. We'll get on this right away.
Then after Edinburgh, hopefully Omega will be over here. So.
Oh no, it's in Terrorist Central.
For a little bit, anyway. But should we go into music?
Yeah, we should, because we are right about exactly that time, and this is going to be another classic, well, soon to be classic, from our friend Tony Goldmark.
Yeah, some jerk with a camera. Right now. Hi everyone, we are back again for part 2 of Lesbian Talk. This time we're going to talk about, do you have like some trivia or something?
Every time you do that, you make him more and more annoyed.
Well, good. He's really, really irritated that he, unlike Omega, does not turn up in my Season 5 opener for, Hagen reviews.
Let me just tell you, I'm torn up inside. I spent the whole entire night sobbing into my pillow about it.
Well, you didn't have a pillow. We were in Canada when we filmed that, and you were in, the suitcase the entire time.
No, I mean, I was sobbing last night. Because last night I was not in Canada.
Oh, you're still crying over it. Oh, you are so emotionally fractured.
That's the thing about foreigners. They don't understand such a thing as sarcasm. So are we gonna do this thing or what?
No, I'm not going to have sex with you, Giovanni. Please, just tell us trivia.
Boss, I swear to God, I don't know how you deal with her, but anyway. So, hi, adoring fans. I know it's been a bit, but I am back with a great trivia fact for you today. And this comes from a little bit ago. Back in the mid 60s, did you know that Slumber Party Barbie actually came with a book called How to Lose Weight? It's true. And one of the tips apparently was don't eat. Thanks. Because when I think slumber parties, I think losing weight. Of
It's,
course.
you know, technically, I suppose it's good advice because, but it's just about as practical as you don't want to be in a car crash? Don't be in a car. It's not really practical, but it's technically true.
Just don't eat, at all. And don't sue anybody. Well, I guess this was back before people could sue about everything, so probably okay. But anyway, that's been my little bit of wonderful for this week, and I will see all you adoring fans next time. Bye bye. You're so mean to him. That makes me
No,
sad.
I'm not mean to him. I love him.
One of these days he's like gonna call in sick because you bully him so much.
I don't believe him.
You do, you bully. I can't believe I have to say this phrase out loud. You bully my lobster, dear. It sounds like such a bad euphemism for something horrible.
So how old is Giovanni?
I think he's in his mid-20s.
My little knowledge of
Because remember, lobsters are immortal. We had this trivia before.
yeah, so surely if he's in his 20s, he should be a little bigger than he is, unless he started off as really tiny.
Yeah, but he could be, like, selectively molting, so he stays pocket-sized, so he doesn't become a hassle.
Big pocket, unless you squash him down.
Well, he can live in my little pocket in my school bag.
That's true. But do you have a story for us?
I do. I have a story for everyone. So if this is the first episode, issue, whatever, if this is the first time you've ever done listen to Lesbian Talk, now is time for a part of the show called One Time at the Store. For the past nearly a decade, I have worked at a large chain bookstore, and I have pretty much seen it all. And usually this part of the show is where I tell you one of those tales. Now, the problem with doing this part of the show is that I can never think of a story right before the episode, right before we record. But
And
anytime
we don't tend to prepare these in any great depth.
you're
You
kind of
can
like,
tell
what
that.
should we talk about? Let's talk about stuff, okay? But whenever I'm talking to somebody, like in my daily life, like on a Sunday night or something like that, I'm always like, one time at the store, let me just tell you what. So today I wanted to cover bizarre threats. And you would think to yourself, why would someone threaten someone who works at a bookstore? And the answer is, I don't know. But recently, right before I moved up to Pennsylvania from Maryland, I was working at the Maryland store, and we didn't have a book in stock that this woman wanted, and it was a pretty obscure, like, collegiate book. It was put out, I think, by like University of Chicago Press. So there was about 3 in the warehouse. So I said, well, I can order it for you, but it might take about 7 or 8 business days to get here. We only have a few in the warehouse. And she went nuclear. She's like, fine, you know what? Fine. No, don't order it for me. I'll just go to Borders. And I was like, okay, have fun with that. Borders has been out of business for over a year, but okay. I mean, I didn't tell her that part. I was like, I'm so sorry about that, ma'am. And she stormed out. And either she knew well and good that Borders has been out of business for a while now, and she just couldn't think of anything else to say, or like she really will go on Google and get confused because Borders.com does redirect to another large chain bookstore's website now because they bought out the .com. So if you search for it, you will come to another large chain bookstore's website. And we've gotten, we got, calls about that. Like, I'm trying to reach Borders and I can't get them, so can you help me? Well, I can look for the book. No, but can you help me get through to Borders? Well, no. They're gone.
Maybe some of these people are convinced that they're trying to find like a Mexican restaurant called Border, but they're just.
Well, there's On the Border, which is a Mexican chain, which is, I mean, their stuff's all right.
Maybe they're mixing the two up.
I guess
they're all like, they get some nachos and they're really complaining because the story is not that riveting and the book seems to be like crunchy and in pieces.
That's really weird. One of the weirdest things you've ever said. I can't read this book, it's too crunchy and delicious.
On the Borders.
Like, It's like some kind. It's Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the timeless masterpiece with queso.
Oh, I really wish I could
So
think of famous book names so I could cross it with food types.
I'm sure you will by like I'll say something you'd be like, no, I've thought of something. For whom the bell pepper tolls, ah, and then we'll be like, ah. So if any artists are listening and you guys want free exposure, you can feel free to illustrate any of those.
Yeah, or
And
I don't know, the novelization of Nacho's Libre.
not just. Oh, but yes, I mean, and I've gotten like really bizarre threats. Like, if a book is out of print, it's out of print. And usually, what I will tell people is, if it's been a reasonable amount of time, like if you're looking for a book that went out of print maybe 10 years ago, I'll say, you know what? Check online, because our website you can purchase used books from vendors, usually for like a few bucks, pretty much, you know. So even if the book is out of print, it's not the end of the world, but. I've had people who they're like, well, I'm gonna complain to the Better Business Bureau about you people. I'm like, but the book is out of print. I can't make it be in print. No, do you understand that that is a solution for a problem that you don't have?
People just entitled idiot. Now, there's two. Now, unfortunately, entitled seems to have two meanings. One of is stuff that you are entitled to. Another one's just people who are convinced that they're entitled to something. I really wish there was a different word to use for each of these, because these idiots are not the same as people who are like getting, I don't know, government benefits that they paid into.
Hmm.
So
It's just it's such a weird concept. The fact that like we must be held accountable for something. Like, just, I mean, okay, I can understand if there's something in a store that really goes wrong in a customer service situation. Like, for example, if your server tripped and poured scalding soup all over you, you probably would be entitled at least to an apology. You know, but like, if I mean, if a book is out of print, it's out of print. I mean, unless you could find a used copy, no mas. There's no. I mean, it's like almost nihilistic trying to explain non-existence.
it's people fucking idiots.
So if you ever, feel like you want to threaten your book, I've been threatened with a lynching before, but that was when I worked in medical insurance. When okay, this isn't technically the story, but I'll indulge. I worked in a department where if you got denied for something, you made the appeal to my department. And one of the things is certain states have laws that insurance doctors can only make a denial on a case if they're accredited, if they hold licensure within that state, which is perfectly fine. So we had, some doctors that, can only review stuff for certain states because they have licensure there. For example, this one guy was denied his gastric bypass, and he was a state of Mississippi, which means the state of Mississippi doc had to review that case and make the determination. But the reason he was denied was because his doctor didn't send in any clinical information. Well, being aware of the statute that state doctors must review state cases, the patient made the leap of logic that we were actually located in Mississippi. And he called up full of spit and vinegar, and I tried to tell him, sir, just have your doctor send clinical information and we can make a review and maybe need a determination. He goes, I'm going to find you. I know you're in the States. I'm going to find you and that doctor, and I'm going to lynch you both. I said, that's very interesting, sir, while I opened up an email to our security department.
So that guy wants to make a strange fruit salad.
I don't even know what was going on with that. But so that was my story from the store, all about bizarre threats. Bing!
Dun, dun, dun.
So, honey, what did you want to talk about for the second half of the show?
I think for the second half of the show, we need to talk about the fact that, for reasons which is best explained by the fact that we want to see animals a lot, we went to see 3 zoos in 3 states within the space of a week.
We did. This is very true.
And you live tweeted our visits.
A lot of them, yeah. Because one of the great things about... Okay, one of the good and bad things about zoos is they're usually full of kids. So you're trying to look, and there's all these kids like, look at the otter! And then they're in the way, and they're like, grr, because you can't make them move because they're children and precious. But another good thing about kids is they say the most amazing shit. And you're like, Like
Plus,
we
you
were.
get some stupid adults too.
This is true. We were looking at some kind. I think there was some kind of the higher primates. It might have been chimps of some kind. And one of the little kid goes, "How many eggs does it lay?" And I tweeted that, and Nash responded, "Okay, I want a monkey omelet."
And there was other ones saying like, are cats dinosaurs or something like that, or is it, what was it, or is a horse a type of cat or something?
Yeah, like no, it was a little
There,
kid
there,
just
there
was
was
like,
like some
"Are
really just
zebras
random shit
cats?"
said by adults. And
Oh
hello?
no, with the giraffe, it was an adult who said, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me that was a dinosaur. He didn't say that to us, obviously, but
Yeah. And occasionally with the zoos, especially in America, you get the occasional creationist, and it's like, oh, that would be charming if that wasn't so pathetic.
although I like the one that we overheard in the Philly Zoo in one of the snake houses where we were just sitting because it was ungodly. Of course, we had to go on the day it was like 95 degrees with full humidity. But so
Fuck
we're
yeah.
resting in the snake house, looking at a snake, and there's these two teen girls, and one goes, "Oh, a milk snake! My milk snake brings all the boys to the yard," and I tweet that too.
Well, we the three zoos we went to, in order of chronology, were Baltimore, Brandywine, and the Philly Zoo. So
Philly Zoo.
now, which of these three did you find the most noteworthy?
Well, I love the Philly Zoo because I would always go there, and it's also the oldest zoo in America. Noteworthy, I would have to give it to the Brandywine Zoo in Delaware, or as we came to rechristen it, the National Depression Zoo, because it was a sad place. Animals were sad, we were sad, everybody was sad. And then about a week after we went there, and there was torrential downpours all across Delaware and massive flooding, and a huge tree fell over on the monkey house, but everybody was safe, and so were all the monkeys.
Yeah,
So I bet now they're even more depressed.
the Delaware Zoo. It's a very Victorian style zoo, and it was opened about 100 years ago. So it's one of the early zoos in America, but it's not really been expanded or built upon since then.
So you could do it in about a half hour.
Yeah, it's very small. It's like $7 worth of zoo, and it's
Which is about
literal.
what you pay, so.
Yeah, it's about maybe 1/10 the size of like Baltimore Zoo, and it starts off really impressively. You're walking down, and there's this massive cage with a fucking condor, which opens up its wings and be like, "Yo, motherfuckers, check out my wingspan."
Yeah, he
All right.
seriously was all about front. Like, when people came over, he started, like, flapping and, like, literally, like, strutting around with his wings open, like, I'm photographic, I'm photogenic, pictures
Check
now.
me out, bitches. And then, like beside it, you had like nearby, you had the tiger and the different types of cats and stuff. But then further in, you got the sparser the enclosures got, the smaller they
Like,
got.
there was one cage that could have been called Birds of the Area with, like, three different kinds of ducks and, like, a ruffed grouse and a porcupine.
Yeah, they just got sadder and sadder. And then you had one point you had like a Reyes
One looked
and
dead. Oh my god. I'll put the picture up for this part, but we thought it was dead, but it was just sleeping.
yeah, they were Reyes and the llamas. And then you had a capybara by itself, and a small child was like, "Oh my God, look at the size of that rat." And the biggest and most advertised thing in the Brandywine Zoo was the otters. And their enclosure was all painted brightly and like, come and see the fucking otters. We have fucking otters.
Their
And you
water
go
looks
there,
stagnant, though.
yeah, you could look at them from above and you could see stuff, but they weren't doing very much. And there's like two of them. But from the side where you're supposed to look in like into the water, it's one of those types of perspex enclosures. You couldn't see a foot in front of
The
you.
water was all cloudy and full of, like, leaves and everything. And there was this one toucan that had something wrong with his foot, so it was, like, on a branch near the ground. It was hobbling. And there was, like, a regular old Delaware turtle that had snuck into the enclosure somehow. I was kind of chilling out with it. We were like, National Depression Zoo.
Like the people who work there,
They were nice. They were very nice.
yeah, they're nice and they're dedicated. They obviously love the zoo, but they don't have anything like enough space or funding to make it a better
Yeah, and you have
place.
to you have to go into the gift shop to buy the tickets. Otherwise, you could basically just walk in. It's kind of
Yeah,
like on the honor system.
yeah, we easily could have walked in, but we also saw they had a separate house for the monkeys, which seemed to have been a house that was just built nearby, and they took over later on. It was outside their grounds.
Yeah, that's the one that the tree fell on.
Yeah, hopefully none of the monkeys escaped.
Although we did go
That
to
could be like
Watsuteca on the
Jumanji.
way home.
That could be like, Jumanji, if the monkeys had escaped.
That's true. They would be all rollicking around Brandywine Park.
But the other two went to Baltimore and Philly. Now, Baltimore was bigger than Philly. Baltimore was a better zoo than Brandywine. And I got me a monkey plushie.
You did. And what did you name him, pray tell?
Lord Baltimore.
Wah, wah, wah.
But the problem with the Baltimore Zoo, absolutely everyone was really, really hot. Like, the poor polar bears.
Oh god, the polar bears had flies all over them. They're just saying like, "Oh fuck me!" And one wasn't even in the water. It was just like sitting against like the like in the shade, just being like this like look on his face, like, "Oh Jesus." And the really ironic thing is, at the top of the exhibit, they have like one of the polar rovers that had been donated, and then it's air conditioned inside. It has like a little movie theater showing you all about this one town where that lives really close to polar bears, and they're all right with it. And I thought it was kind of ironic that we were sitting in the air conditioning watching these poor polar bears who were so hot outside in the sweltering Baltimore summer.
Yeah, the polar bears were like, bastards, please just fucking shave us, please.
They were so sad. The ones at the Philly Zoo, they were a lot happier though. They were splashing and
Yeah, the Philly Zoo, well, it was a bit further north, so it was not quite as insane heat-wise. Honestly, the two zoos are sort of vaguely sort of melding in my mind because, we went so close together. Like, I remember Baltimore Zoo obviously had the little buggy to get you into the zoo, and it had various other things, while I know the Philly Zoo had, like, the badass giant otters and everything.
well, the Philly Zoo used to have a monorail way back in the day because I remember riding on it when I was a little kid. But apparently there was a fire and there was a derailment back in the early 90s. And they discontinued it. But what they did was the monorail track is still around, and so what they did is they made it kind of like this skyway. They had a fenced in tunnel on it that some of the larger apes and primates can go clambering around on this little like treetop way, which is kind of cool. A good repurposing of the monorail track.
Yeah, very, very clever, although I'd hate to be a small child happily looking up enchanted at the monkeys, crawling around that and, gets shat on.
Well, that's one of the things that happens.
Just the moment they're
Also-
opening their mouth in wonderment. It's like, oh, my mouth tastes like poo.
Also, they have a little teeny lake in the middle, and which is kind of around the birdhouse, and they have these beautiful Swan paddle boats that you can hire out for like $6, and you can take a few turns around the lake. And so my lovely wife says to me, "Oh, do you want to go on the paddle boats?" And it's real. I'm telling you, it's like 100% humidity. It's like 95, 96 degrees that day in Philly. And I said, "Really? You want to?" And she goes, "Oh, well, not if you don't want to, I guess." And I'm like, I should stop being such a hard ass. So I was like, "No, honey, if you want to go on it, we'll go on it." And so we paid the money we got, put into life vests, and we sit down in the Swan paddle boat. And describe your side, if you would.
Well, I did most of the paddling. I don't think there was any point where I wasn't paddling, and it was rather warm.
Well,
and,
your paddle area was full up with water, so you couldn't even put your feet down.
yeah, so I sort of had to climb in rather.
Because see, I
awkwardly.
knew this would be a tragedy, so we get in.
And
And-
my choice of shoes were not waterproof.
Oh yeah, that's right, because you had the other ones on. So we're paddling around the stagnant lake. It's about 1,000,000 fucking degrees. We get about I think maybe 10, 15 yards away from the dock, and she says, "This might not have been the best idea." And I said, "Uh-huh." Well, I'm paddling, and I was like, "My chest hurts." "Okay, you stop paddling for now. I'll paddle." "Okay." We made it 2 times around the thing, and then we just kind of collapsed for a while.
Well, you know why I wanted to go on them?
Because you thought somehow it would be different.
No, because when I was a child, I used to, whenever I was in the area, I would go to a not a very good, but a rather charming little theme park called Lightwater Valley. And one of my earliest memories of going to a theme park was there, and they had like swan paddle boats, and I wanted to go on them with you.
Aww.
Because it reminded me of that.
Oh, we almost died together. Oh.
But you see, it wasn't just a case of wanting to make us sort of feel bad or anything. It was I wanted to connect with a happy childhood memory.
Oh, I know, honey. I just think that sometimes you don't take into account American weather.
This is true. Though you're going to be really weirded out in the UK whenever you're finally here during the summer because it's it's moderate slash maybe a tiny bit cold during the summer, except when you're in direct sunlight. Once you're in direct sunlight, then it's like almost Philadelphia level summer weather.
That's strange to me.
Yeah, it's you can be cold and warm within like moments of each other and outside in UK summer weather. Just depending. But you can also get this in winter. It could be. I have had experiences where I wander around and it's like frosty and like there's been snow or whatever. But you get hit with it with some, in a direct bit of sunlight and you feel warm.
That's because you guys are crazy.
No, it's just
It's
a different
proximity to
weather system.
Vikings is what it is.
But yeah, I like the Philly Zoo. The
Oh, and there were legions of birds walking. Now I knew this from when I was a kid. Is that there are peacocks that walk around and yelp at you for food, and they have a very loud yelp. But there's also Canadian geese, which are horrible, and ducks. We took a great bit of footage on my iPhone, which apparently I have to take it in for service because now it won't record with sound. It will play with sound, but it won't record with sound. So I had at one point in time a whole bunch of duck minions gathered, and I was pretending like I was telling them a story of my people. And
Yeah, you
then
told them an epic
I
tale and
did,
then
and
they bit
then
you.
and then I gave one a bit of my lunch, and it bit me.
And they were all cannibals because we gave them like barbecue chicken.
We did, but like yeah, they were just like they were. I mean, the ducks are okay, but like the geese are horrible because they'll hiss at you, and geese are bad news.
Yeah, we deliberately did not give the geese food. We were all like, no, geese, you can fuck off. We give it to the ducks,
We
and
give it to
especially the
cute
baby
ducks,
ducks,
so there.
because
Yeah, there were babies.
ducks are awesome.
Yeah, I spent the entire day convinced I was gonna have a heart attack from the heat. I was like, we have to sit down. My chest hurts.
And then at the end, I was like, oh, let's go because you said we get ice cream. Let's go and get ice cream at this place where we can sit down. And it was it was cunningly located on the other side of the park. But right afterwards, we could go and see the otters.
Yeah, I like otters. They're fun. I want to have a pet otter. I keep it in the bathtub.
I think it might need more space than that.
Well, it would be a big bathtub. You guys don't even know. It's gonna be like Wild Fucking Kingdom at our apartment or house or whatever where we live in Manchester because we'll have Kippers the cat if we can finagle getting him over the pet immigration way. Possibly another kitten, an octopus. I said if we ever get a dog, we should get a Swedish Valhund because they're like the Viking herder dogs. They're not derived from anything. They're like an original breed, and they look like wolf corgis. Seriously, Google them. Google them and search.
Well,
Seriously.
if I have a dog, I'd like a spaniel.
Yeah, but that's work. You have to like brush them all the damn time.
Yeah, but they look awesome.
Yeah, but like that's why royals keep them because they have time for that.
The
I ain't
queen
got no
keeps
time.
corgis.
Yeah, the queen has corgis, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Well, see, there you go. And also, like, this has just happened, but again, by the time you hear this, it'll be old news. You have a new potential king.
Well, not potential king, if unless he dies before his grandparents or whatever, or his parents, and unless they get rid of the royal family, we have a future definite king.
Okay, I wasn't really sure how that worked.
Basically, Queen dies, Charles takes over. Charles dies, William takes over. William dies, new kid takes over.
Okay, well, there you go.
So now we
And
have the next three monarchs are lined up.
dun dun dun. So someday, eventually, I will be a subject of this guy if that whole immigration thing works out.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, he's the king now. I remember when he was born. Just saying. I will say to nobody.
Yeah, I'm thinking that unless, barring accidents, I'm probably going to die during that king's reign.
Why do you think like that? Why do you think of these things?
I'm just working out the numbers.
Yeah, but who thinks like that but you?
I figure, well, I suppose it's possible I might die of old age during William's reign, but I think it's a little bit unlikely.
My wife, everybody.
But the zoos, I really enjoyed Philly, and not quite as much Baltimore, but that might be because it was really, really, really fucking hot.
Yeah, it was detestably hot that day.
It is really interesting seeing all the zoos in different countries and states in America. Like I've been to one in Phuket, I've been to the one in like New Orleans, and it's really because I've been the only, apart from those ones, the only ones I've been to are based in the UK, and the UK ones they have very similar ideas to each other about what constitutes interesting and foreign. So there is a lot of overlap, but with these ones, they're so different.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't you say that was like they had a pine cone in Phuket?
Phuket
That was
had a glass case full of pine cones inside the aquarium.
the rare aquatic pine.
They also had like lynx cats inside the aquarium, and in one part, not in the aquarium, they had like little white bunnies and crows.
Uh, uh, I'm at a loss for that one.
Well, the Phuket Zoo was awesome. Well, they weren't. They were very very Victorian in the way that they treated a couple of the animals, and it was very very hurtful. And I kept away from those exhibits.
Mm.
Um, they had like life-size statues of dinosaurs, like a T-Rex and all, and and things like that. It was an interesting way to to see the. It was an interesting zoo.
Well, speaking of zoos, because we were, guess what time it is?
It is time I mentioned the fact that I got a plushy sloth.
You did get a sloth. And guess where it's sitting? Right on top of my bookcase.
Is he looking after you?
Wasn't really looking after me, he's kind of looking over me, but
That's good. Did you work out a name for him?
we never did, no. We'll think of something.
Okay.
Audience, if you have any suggestions, write the show.
Because, maybe I should call him William Penn.
That's kind of an ambitious name for a sloth.
Like, I feel like pounding.
No, he doesn't have a sad potato voice.
But he's very slow.
That's not
Yeah.
even south.
If he was... No, I'm just saying he's very slow.
Oh.
Because he's a sloth. So I was just thinking that he could form, like, his own colony of, of Pennsylvania, but it would, like, take him 3 years just to say the name.
I
Because he speaks so
guess?
slow. Because he's slow, because he's a sloth. And there were many sloths in Philly Zoo, and there were naked mole rats and everything.
I don't like naked mole rats.
I had never seen a naked mole rat in
They're
real life
creepy.
before. I was fascinated. But they had the elephant shrew that you do love.
I love it! It has like a little, you can't see, but it's got like a little nose. Google it. Google image search. Or, you know what? I'll put a picture up. Because they're awesome. Elephant shrews kick ass. They kick so much ass, you don't even know. Just
And
saying.
they had my favorite animal at the Philly Zoo, the red panda.
And it came right up to us. Like, okay, well, it was on its way somewhere else, but still.
Yeah, it was on its way to its den because it was really fucking hot, but we got a couple of good shots.
Yep. He knew you came, so he's like, hey, I just want to say hi before I go, you know.
I
Said
like
the
the
red panda. But it is dictionary time.
dun dun dun.
And I have the Oxford American Dictionary here with me. What page should I turn to?
27.
27. Was that the one you picked last time?
Was it?
I don't think so. Okay, 1 or 2.
1.
It's out of 22.
21.
Any place. Anywhere.
That is very broad.
That's good because in this column is also the letter A by itself and anus. So there you go.
I could have talked about Kevin Strange then.
Oh dear. Oh my. But anyway, guys and gals and people in between, that has been episode 28-ish.
Well, wait, you said guys, gals, and anyone in between, but you did not state, people like who have started off as one and, whose gender identity has shifted, which is different from being trans, by the way, but it's, there's lots of varieties beyond guys, gals, and anyone in between. There's people who don't identify as either.
So, like ultraviolet, like above, like in between, but super gender?
Or just
For all of
neither.
our listeners out there.
Or neither. And there's some people who are gender fluid who at different times in their lives feel like male or female, or somewhere in between. You shift around.
Yeah, but not everybody of them is listening to the show today.
I know, but I got the feeling that there's at least one person who's gender fluid who is listening to the audio,
All
this review.
humans and bronies and furries. Email.
I'm fairly sure there's at least one because
Chaos theory.
hello, Robin, I know you listen.
Well, he's got some explaining to do to Batman.
Oh, different spelling,
I
maybe.
was just listening to Lesbian Talk. I'm sorry.
I was just listening to Lesbian Talk. I gotta tell you, I want boobies.
So